Well guys, it has been a few days, but doesn't mean anything hasn't gotten done. So if you look around, I've actually done a ton of cleaning and organizing just so it was that much easier to find parts. And I had piles of stuff and I just got tired of digging again. So I went through everything, got a bunch more totes, and I organized a bunch more parts, and even got a bunch of stuff down here. So tossed the transmission on the bottom of the cart, got that all cleaned up so I can actually work with Jordan's parts. So like these are the oil cooler bolts and some random bolts that we had that I've gotten from out of the boxes of stuff that we've opened up, and I've just dumped everything in that bin. So it worked out. So before I was just putting it in a peanut butter jar and then dumping it out every time on the bench here, and then just digging through the pile, and then when I was done, put them all back in. So this will make it a lot easier. It won't be as messy. I can just reach in, you know, find what I need. We got all these parts set out. So we got the intercooler brackets painted, and they've been curing for probably about 2 weeks now. So we got those out here with bolts. Got the clutch line with the ends so we can get all that hooked up. Oil filter, adapter gasket, and adapter ready to go. When I put the clutch line in, I'm just gonna go ahead and put a DCR pivot arm in it anyway. And then I got the connectors to do the harness for the turbo toys. Got plugs, plug wires. They're just waiting for the valve cover to go on. Valve cover gasket's just sitting on the dash out of the way for now so it doesn't get damaged or anything. And the bushing is still on the rear sway bar, so all I gotta do is put the mount back in. So while we were also doing all this other stuff, I got the parts for the return line. So we got that made on the regulator. So I know it's not gonna be the easiest thing to see, but it comes in under here and then it just hugs the AC line. Kinda right here. And then it just hooks up to the return line there. So we're gonna find a way to tidy up that return line to the fuel feed line, and then once we get all that tied up, then I can actually rotate the fittings and get them where I want it. And then once the line is in a good spot where it's not going to be in the way of a belt potentially coming over and hitting it or anything like that, then we can go ahead and get everything tightened up and then tie it all out of the way. So I got that in yesterday, got the throttle body in, so the cable and everything's all hooked up. And I even took the throttle plate screws out and Loctited those guys so we don't have to worry about those coming out on us. So gasket did show up, so we got all that stuff together. Blow-off valve showed up, so we got the pipe put together. So that's pretty much ready for the car. So before I move the car and do the clutch line and stuff, what I would like to do is get the, I want to put the intercooler brackets in and the intercooler and get that hung. And then we'll come to the back of the car and I'll put the sway bar links in, put some ride height in it, and then make sure everything's tight, and then we'll just set it back on the ground. Did they cut the bumper? Okay. Oh, maybe. Dang, it feels like they did. I was hoping they didn't. We'll see. If they cut the bumper, they cut the bumper. He'll just have to replace it if he ever wants to get rid of it, but he does have another carbon fiber diffuser that we're gonna put on the car, so I don't know what he's gonna do. Well, the old one, when we take it off, you might end up finding it on Facebook. So yeah, like I said, in the meantime, let's get these intercooler brackets kind of hung in there. I'll bring the intercooler out, and then I'll put a jack under it just to hold it, and I'll swing the brackets in, and then we'll run the zip screw into the course port, bolt the intercooler in, and then test fit the SDK pipe, just make sure that there's, you know, no issues with anything. I mean, I think we got it set pretty right, but we'll find out. You know, clocking the coupler and what have you. So yeah, let's get all that stuff done and let's hang this intercooler. Got a tear on the Band-Aid. So with this one, there's a little bit of a difference. I'm not gonna beat on the core support to sink in where the studs are welded into the plates. That way the plate, it sits flush, because I don't want to do that to this car. And I'm actually gonna hope and cross my fingers that I don't have to cut the core support here. So it's already bent, so it looks like somebody tried to fit it with a bigger intercooler already. So I'm hoping that with the stud pushed against the core support, that it's gonna space the intercooler out enough that I won't have to cut that. I hope it works. Let's find out. So it does touch a little bit. So I'm gonna try an old trick that I was shown, and I'm gonna try and bend that metal over, and hopefully I don't crack any of the paint, but just gotta gain some clearance so this doesn't sit and rub on the back of the intercooler and eventually wear a hole in it. You don't want that. I think we're gonna have to cut it. I gotta cut it. I didn't want to, but it's not wanting to bend enough. It keeps bringing back. It is what it is. I'm not gonna cut the whole thing out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna slice it here, here, and then up here, and we'll fold it in, and we should be okay. Okay, so I'll do the wiring and everything after I get the slave in, I think, and then I'll do the blow-off valve after that. So I just wanted to test fit, make sure that it was going to fit pretty good. I do have to clock this lower coupler this way a little bit, so I'll just loosen the clamp, get it set in the car, rotate that coupler, and then we'll tighten everything up once it's in. I do also have to gain myself a little bit of clearance around the ECM bracket. So what I'm going to have to do on that is just take the ECM back out, and then while that's out I can go ahead and take care of that wiring while it's all nimbly, but I'm gonna hog out the mounting holes for the ECM so I can try and slide it up like 1/8 of an inch, and that'll give me room to slip the coupler in and not have to worry about trying to feed the clamp in there to get it in, because it's gonna be pretty tight where it's at. And usually with mine I just take and I open up the hole around it and I leave that alone, but with Jordan's car I'm gonna try something a little bit different, and if it don't work then I'll go back in and I'll just cut that piece out. But I'm hoping I don't have to. I'm trying to not cut as much as I can on this car. So as you guys seen when I was trying to get the intercooler mounted, so it even pained me enough to just do the couple slices I did here just so I could bend that metal back, gain the clearance we need for the intercooler. So, but we got light coming through behind the intercooler. So now what we're gonna do is the rear sway bar links. I'm gonna put that sway bar bracket in. I'll grab my spanners off the wall there, loosen the lock rings on this coil over here, and then put about 1/2 inch of ride height in it, and then we'll put the back tires on, we'll put it on the ground, and then roll it back, and then we'll get the front end over this way more, and then we'll go into that dash and we'll see if we can start fishing that Slave and Master out tonight. That'll explain why I fight with it. So it's not gonna do that too. Soccer go. There's no going back. Okay, so we got the passenger side fitted, and I didn't think about trying to fit the rear with the wider tire, so we ended up having to use 2 spacers to get it to clear. Now, I measured the 2 spacers that I have, and it was like 6.15 millimeters or something like that. So what we're gonna do is get some extended studs, and then he's gonna have to get some open-ended lug nuts And it'll make it a lot easier too, because these wheels don't have a big lug barrel, so it's hard to get a good socket in there. You're gonna have to use chrome or a real thin walled impact socket or something like that. So if he goes to the spline drives, that'll give him a lot of space to work with. So ideally though, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna talk him into getting, I'm gonna see if I can talk him into getting them anyway, some extended rear studs, 8 or 10 millimeter spacers, and then a set of lug nuts for all the way around. So with the front, if we go 10 wide, or if we go 10 wide in the rear, we'll probably do like a 5 in the front, maybe more if we need it. But I think the front did actually clear really good the way it was. Worst case, we need a 3 mil, which we can get away with using stock studs on that, so I don't have to press the bearing out to do that one. But the rear, all you got to do is take the rotor off and then a single nut, pull the whole bearing assembly, just knock the studs out, drive new ones in, and put the bearing back in. You don't have to press it like you do the front. So if we were doing the front, we'd have to get a new bearing because it would get destroyed coming apart, but the rear makes it a lot easier to do. Now, I haven't done it on this car yet because I haven't needed to, because we're running skinnies, but because he wants to track this car, has a road course gear set, we're gonna have to do something a little bit different with the rear so we can get these big old tires to stick in here. So I'm gonna put, I'm just gonna cut the camera off right here. I'm gonna put some ride height in that side, get the tire on. There's really not much space on that side of the car, so it's not really a good angle to be able to get you guys in, so you're gonna be able to see what's going on. So you've seen it on this side, we're doing the same on that. So like I said, we're just gonna take and loosen that lock ring, pick the coil up about a ½ an inch, put some ride height to it, and then we'll stick the tire on, and then we'll set the rear down, go to the front, and then start getting that ready so we can get the car moved over and try and get this slave and master out of here tonight. So we'll bring you guys back in when we're ready to set her on the ground. Okay, so I think I might have found a way around this one. I'm going to try find my 16 and my swivel. Oh, there we go. So what I'm gonna do is I had the tire on there and it looks like it's cambered way in. So I got to looking at the hardware and I seen the witness mark way out here. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna loosen the strut bolts and I'm gonna pull the whole thing out and take all the camber out of it, see what we got for room. And then we'll go from there. Because ideally, we don't want a whole lot of camber in the car. I mean, if we absolutely have to, maybe a degree, but with this one, it was way in, so I'd guess maybe 3. So we're gonna take it all out and see how it fits after that. Hopefully we don't have to use spacers, or if we can get away with just one thin one, then I can tell them, hey man, false alarm, we don't need studs, but we'll see what happens. Let's give it a shot. Shit, we got tons of space now. Look at that. Man, I could almost get a finger in there. Oh, not quite. Could almost get my pinky in there though. So I mean, there's 3 millimeter spacer. That gave him a nice little cushion. So I kind of eyeballed it, and actually with it hanging, just about perfect. So I just come in as the tire starts to roll with my 4th finger. So we come over to this side. Look at that. So close. I bet you it's within probably a 1/4 of an inch on either side. Anyway, got everything kind of buttoned up, got the wheels on all 4 corners. So now I'm gonna set this thing on the ground, we'll move it over. And not sure how far I'm gonna get, because I'm starting to really get a pretty bad headache. And I might end up cutting this one short, but at least if I can get this thing on the ground and moved over and ready to come back out here, well, actually no, I won't be able to get back out here tomorrow. We got quite a bit done. We fit the intercooler pipe, we got the intercooler mounted, we got the ride height and everything set in the back, the rear, flip the rear strut bolt so the alignment will be easier when we get to do it. Got the rear sway bar mount and links in. So yeah, let's get this thing set on the ground, let's move it over. And then I'm gonna go inside and I'll eat. If my headache starts to go away, or it feels better by then, I'll come back out here, but if it don't, I probably won't. So yeah, regardless, we'll get this thing on the ground and see how I feel here in a few. Looks good. So yeah, my headache is starting to get pretty bad. So we got the car moved over though. I'm gonna get my tools and stuff cleaned up. I didn't make the dent in the pile that I wanted to today, but we made a dent. It's a start. Got the intercooler on, got the intercooler brackets on, got the rear sway bar lengths in, ride height adjusted, strut bolts flipped, camber taken out, all the wheels are on all 4 corners, and we're spinning without dragging. So we're gonna do 3mm spacers all the way around, and that'll give him a little bit of room to work with. That way, if he decides to start running lower tire pressure for something and he gets a little bit of sidewall flex, we don't have to worry about that rubbing. So that 3mm will give us that little cushion, give the car a nice look. It'll bring the tires right out to where we want them, and especially on the rear. So yeah, that 3mm, that'll bring it out and make it look really nice. So then with the front, it won't be as much. It'll be out a little further than the door, just a tiny bit, but it should look pretty good either way. So anyway, I'm gonna get my tools put away. I'm gonna wrap this one up for the night, guys, go inside and eat. And depending on how long we're at the church tomorrow, we might get back out here and see if I can get some more work done. At least by the weekend, I should have the harness in, the clutch line in, and pretty much just be waiting on the turbo. At least I hope so. And then if we're still waiting on the turbo by the weekend, I'll probably start hanging body panels. We'll get the fenders and bumper and stuff on it, and then I could start working on putting the the cowl and stuff like that together, and then the turbo when it gets here. So we're just gonna keep chipping away, and eventually we'll either run out of parts or we'll have a car that runs, guys. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap this one up, get my stuff put away. You guys have yourself a good one. Stay safe, and we will see you at the track. Thanks.